Back in 1960, England moved at a leisurely pace. Trains still ran on coal and water, and cars were asthmatic Austins and Morrises that could barely better 65 miles an hour. Life had a gentle, measured rhythm, until, that is, the E-Type Jag arrived.
Asked the girl what she wanted to be. She said, baby, can't you see? I want to be famous, a star of the screen, but you can do something in between. Baby, you can drive my car. Yes, I'm gonna be a star.
Suddenly, a barrier had been broken. Ordinary people could now travel at an astonishing 150 miles an hour.
Beep, 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 yeah.
The world looked on and sighed in admiration. A tiny company in Coventry was about to change cars and speed forever.
Really, when you drove an E-Type, that attracted an immense amount of attention because it didn't only look fast, it was fast. These were my early days, and I got that, if you like, thrill of speed through an E-Type better than anything else.
I don't know what 0 to 60 was, I can't remember, but I know it was fast. You'd be hitting a ton or 110, 120, and you still didn't feel like you were moving. But I just knew this thing was special when it came to driving, because as I say, I'd driven everything else, but nothing compared to it.
But this car didn't just change her whole attitude to speed, it slammed a door on an era's end. It was like a bullet ricocheting out of the future. After the E-Type, nothing would ever be the same again. The brave new world of the 60s began right here.
The E can trace its origins back to the immortal D-Type, also designed by aerodynamicist Malcolm Sayer and also powered by the redoubtable XK straight-six engine. The D was the most advanced racing car of its day and swept the board at Le Mans, winning in 1955, 56 and 57. It was the 170-mile-an-hour D that taught Jaguar everything they needed to know about weight, handling and speed. It was the genesis of one of the most desirable cars ever. On March the 15th, 1961, the world's heart missed a beat. Crowds burst into spontaneous applause when the E was shown for the first time at the Geneva Motor Show. Every newspaper in the country ran banner headlines, dubbing it the most sensational invention of our time.
The E-Type at Geneva suddenly widened the availability of high-performance cars to a far wider section of the public. Comparative cars were 4, 5, 6 times more expensive than the E-Type. And that was the thing that set the E-Type apart. It had a high performance, had the road holding, it had the ride, easy to drive, and yet it was available at a sensible price. And it really transformed the market for cars like this, and of course the demand reflected that.
I can't think really of any motor car that got universally such a wonderful reception. I mean, you look at it now, and you think it's wonderful. Well, you can imagine in 1961, everybody thought it was absolutely fantastic. And it wasn't just me, I think everybody, and you read the reports today, everybody thought it was absolutely superb.
But not only was the E-Type the fastest, prettiest and most glamorous car for miles, it was also downright cheap. At £2,197, it was a dream you could have on hire purchase. Trouble was, Jaguar couldn't turn them out fast enough and found themselves besieged with millions of pounds worth of orders from all over the world. Desperate buyers placed deposits at 10 different dealers, hoping to beat the rush. But it was a queue that couldn't be jumped, unless, of course, you had friends in high places.
I saw it in the paper and fell in love with it immediately. I mean, it looked fantastic. I thought, I've got to have one. And I phoned Jaguar up. I phoned Sir William Lyons, and he came on the phone, and I said, I've got to have one of these E-Types. They're fantastic. He said, wow. He said, you'll have to wait, because for at least 6 months, we're making everything in left-hand drive, and they're all going to America. He said, we've only got 6 right-hand drives. That's all we've made. I said, well, let me have one of those. He said, I can't. They're allocated. I mean, the list is endless. I said, please, please, I beg you, let me have one of these cars. Anyway, For some reason or other, he relented. He said, we're going to allocate one of these 6 cars for our comp. You can imagine what I felt like.
We gotta get out of this place. If it's the last thing we ever do, we gotta get out of this place. There's a better life for me and you.
So was all that fuss and flourish really warranted? Yes. The E was and is formidably fast.
In a heartbeat, you were pulling 100 miles an hour. Press the pedal a bit harder, and the bonnet rises. 110, 120, 130, and there's more. And that was the great thing about an E-Type. You could sit here and watch that little needle nudge those really, really big numbers. No other car offered the same sort of cocktail of glamour, danger, and excitement. It was like a racing car in a miniskirt.
Keep on running. Keep on hiding. One day I'm gonna be the one to make you understand. Oh yeah, I'm gonna be your man. Keep on running. Running from my arms.
Suddenly, there was only one car in the world to own. The E-Type couldn't have arrived at a better time. The ultimate expression of 60s freedom, it was hip, horny, and headstrong.
It was perfect for the time, because the 60s, particularly in the north of England, where I was, fashion was changing. Music, particularly with the Beatles and groups like that. The whole thing was changing, you know. Kids were growing their hair long, which they'd never been seen, especially sportsmen. They'd never seen that, you know. That whole decade of the 60s was something special in all respects, and this car just seemed to fit in. The girls loved it as well, and I knew they liked to be seen in the car, and why not? So I wasn't going to turn them down. If they wanted to be seen in the E-Type, all well and good.
Whatever supermarket it is now, just next to Royal Avenue in the King's Road, that had a long plate glass window, and you could catch sight of the whole thing. And I remember I started to get to know all the long, flat, reflective surfaces in London, so it wasn't looking at me, it was looking at the car, actually. I just thought it was just a wonderful sight, this extraordinary flowing wave of a car.
Technology and style came together with the E-Type, and that was the beginning of the space race, and it was also the beginning of people looking for things that had elegance and beauty as well as function.
But behind all the brouhaha lay a little fib. Those first 3.8s weren't quite as fast as the newspapers said. Years later, it emerged that Jaguar had been naughty and souped up the cars they'd lent to the press. They knew that those 3 magic numbers, 150, would bless their new prodigy with instant fame. Which is why few people noticed the lousy brakes, cramped cockpit, graunchy moss gearbox, and seats that would have kept an osteopath in work for months. But Sir William Lyons and the white-coated engineers at Jaguar noticed. So in 1964 they came up with the finest E-Type of them all, the 4.2.